Good morning. My name is Gary Barg. I'm a caregiver, as I like to call it, a serial caregiver. I'm author of the books, The Fearless Caregiver and Caregiving Ties That Bind, and our new book about caregiving called You Are Not Alone. And what I find interesting about that book is that you wrote it. Once the pandemic hit and we weren't able to join caregivers around the country, which we've been doing for 23 years, we wanted to make sure that people are still connected with the information, the support, the camaraderie, the love that we find at the in-person events. So we sat down and thought about all the things that we learned from family caregivers at the events and came up with 204 pages of wisdom, of techniques, of tips that you guys have told us around the country in Orlando and in 46 other cities and 25 other states, from Alaska to South Florida to from Maine to Southern California. So thank you for all the wisdom you share, even past the day of the event you're at, because we always share it with other caregivers. I'm also editor-in-chief of today's Caregiver magazine and host of the 287 in-person Fearless Caregiver Conference. And this, I think we just figured out, is the 6th virtual Fearless Caregiver Conference, this one being for one of my favorite areas that I would love to come to. Don't tell the other areas, or Orlando. We do a wonderful event every year up until 2019 in Maitland, and we'll be back. I want to thank Carla, Radka, and her tremendous team at Senior Resource Alliance, Homewatch Caregivers, PowerDrive Mobility. Thanks to the amazing panelists, group of panelists and community partners who made today possible. I want to especially thank Ezra Katz, Brian Zippin, Fred Parr, and all the tech wonderkids at Zippin Media for making this Zoom stuff happen, because it was up to me, we'd be doing this on mimeograph. So, if it doesn't smell like anything, it's not a communication vehicle as far as I'm concerned. Also, thanks to Betty Hoffman and the good folks at Senior Blue Book for, see, I have it, Betty, for helping get the word out about this event. Anybody who's attended the in-person events knows that I firmly believe that the way that you successfully perform in your job as a family caregiver is to take on another job, and that's called being a fearless caregiver. A fearless caregiver is a caregiver that they understands they have a job to do as a full member of their loved one's care team, an equal member of their loved one's care team. I like to call you the manager of your loved one's care team. You're no less important than the case manager, therapist, or even the doctor. You all have jobs to do. Yours is to learn all you can about your loved one's situation, act as their advocate. You see, we've learned over these years and talking to caregivers in all these rooms across the country that a caregiver can be listened to, and a caregiver can be respected, and a caregiver can be heard in the healthcare system. But there are 3 traits that we find common to the caregivers who are fearless. First, you believe you can make a difference. Nothing happens without that. Second, you see your role in your loved one's care as being just as important as any other member of their professional care team. And third, you ask questions. You ask lots of questions. You research and never take an easy no. You become fearless caregiver. And yet, the very first step of being a fearless caregiver is one that I know I'm going to get pushback from, and that's caring for yourself. I know everyone's sitting in the living room going, what does he know? I'm dealing with this caregiving. I have family, I have work, I have job, I have everything I need to do. How can I care for myself? My job, my question to you is, who's going to step in and care for you and your loved one when you take yourself out of the circle of care, when you need help because you haven't cared for yourself as you care for your loved one? See, caring for yourself is job one for any family caregiver. I believe firmly that all caregiving is national in implication and local in application. You need to know what's going on in Tallahassee. You need to know what's going on in Washington, what's happening with Social Security and Medicare and the budget. But more importantly than not, you need to know what's going on in your local community. You know, services in Ohio, or Oregon, or Oklahoma may be neat to know about. Great, here's a wonderful home care company. Here's the area agency. Here's people you need to know about in a city, in a state, you know, five states away. But they're no direct help to the caregivers living in the Orange County area. That's why we do these. That's why it's important to stay involved. And they say now that hopefully not for long, Delta's, you know, brought back some challenges we thought had gone away regarding COVID. It's more important to remember to stay socially distanced, keep your health challenged loved ones safe, and mask.
Thank you again, Gary. My name is Carla Radka, and I am the President and CEO of Senior Resource Alliance. We are the area agency on aging in Central Florida, serving seniors, caregivers, and adults with disability. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Nicole, from all the way up in the mountains.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Nicole Brackett, Care Delivery and Education Manager with Homewatch Caregivers. I've been with Homewatch Caregivers for 17 years now, and my primary role is providing tools, training, and resources to our caregivers, our franchise owners, making sure they have everything that they need to successfully assist elders living in their home.
Tell me your title again.
I am Care Delivery and Education Manager.
I'd never heard that. I love that. Thank you so much.
You can use it.
I'm going to change my business card right now. And Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Marie Rieckhoff. I am the SHINE liaison for the Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Brevard counties. SHINE stands for Serving Health Insurance Needs of Elders, and we run a team of volunteers who can provide unbiased and free health insurance assistance for folks looking to change Medicare plans or have questions about Medicare supplement plans. Any question you have about Medicare, we are here to answer.
Question, please. First question. Don't know where it's going to go. Our mom is 89 and a widow for 1 month after 72 years of holy matrimony. Wow. She refuses to budge to go live anywhere but her own home. She's very weak and frail, a bit stubborn. Yeah, I know that one. Legally blind, extremely incontinent, deaf in one ear. We have searched diligently for someone to live in, no success. She cannot afford a nursing home and refuses to go on anyway. We're all exhausted. Any advice, please? Nicole, I think this is right up your educational bailiwick.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know, we often get elders who want to age in place. They want to stay at home and be where it's familiar to them. As Gary mentioned at the very beginning, it is so vitally important that you take care of yourselves, because you can't possibly begin to help take care of others unless you take care of yourself. So, you know, seeking out respite care, not totally giving up your role as a caregiver is important, but also knowing that you have resources out there to help and understand. That's the biggest part, is that they understand. So, you know, getting somebody that comes in and is trusted and builds that trust with your loved one to be able to help assist with care and not take her away from the things that are important to her, her schedule, you know, and kind of infringe on her autonomy. So I think it's just really important to know that there are resources out there that you can actually look in for in-home living assistance to provide as little or as much care as possible to help you get through this difficult time.
Karla, tell me what SRA does for your communities, and then is there any information support groups, activities that you can help this person with the question with?
I think it's important to recognize that our organization is a point of entry into a system of care for seniors, adults over the age of 60, and adults with disabilities. And we are very fortunate to have a resource that is very unique as a point of entry when a caregiver or a senior have the kinds of dilemmas described by one of the attendees this morning. So the service that is ideal to really identify agencies and services in our community that provide the specific and meet the needs of each senior, because each person is individual, is an individual, is a unique case, is our information and referral elder helpline. That is what is also called ADRC, and all those wonderful acronyms and letters that it means a lot. It has a lot of meaning behind, but that is our resource center. And the number for our resource center, the local number, is 407-514-1800. We are going to include this information on the chat feature of this conference to make it available for everyone. We also have a website that it provides general information about our services, and that is available at www.seniorresourcealliance.org. Again, that information will be available on the chat. And for this particular individual with that question, I will encourage them to dial our elder helpline, and caring, knowledgeable specialists are on the other side of that phone call to be able to assist with those unique needs.
Well, this is part of becoming the CEO of Caring for Your Loved One, Inc., becoming a fearless caregiver. And Lisa, I want to talk about something that I don't think anybody gets right up front when we start talking about is the role that role that Medicare plays in your loved one's care. What does it offer? What can it do? How do you make the right decisions? So let's just start with, what is SHINE?
The SHINE program, which stands for Serving Health Insurance Needs of Elders, is a program that is supposed to provide free, unbiased information on Medicare. So, for example, if you're turning 65, and I'll make it more specific to Miss Carolyn's situation in a minute. For example, if you're turning 65, if you have a loved one who's turning 65, you can point them in our direction, and we have volunteers who will sit and go through those plans with them. A lot of times what happens is when we get to this point in our loved one's care where they need further assistance, we struggle finding services through Medicare that cover those things. And so what will end up happening in certain situations is people will go to doctors and say, well, I want Medicare to cover X, Y, and Z. I want them to cover in-home healthcare. I want them to cover an aide to come to the home and things like that. Unfortunately, Medicare does not cover those unless you're post-surgery in some kind of situation or post a major procedure of some type. And so what we end up doing is we end up advising folks to go to their doctors and say, well, what can we get for my parent? We need to get a wheelchair because it needs to help them move around. Great. Doctors can write a prescription for a wheelchair if they find that they need it. And you go through and they end up paying 20% on Medicare Part B. And get more specific. Maybe there are specific needs that she has that can be alleviated by those things. Maybe there are specific needs for her medications that can be alleviated by those things as well. And sometimes Medicare can be good to target specific concerns that may help alleviate some of those caregiver burdens that we have going on.
My name is David Carson. I've been developing products. I founded my own company about 25 years ago called Envision Product Development Group in Martin County here. And so I've basically been helping facilitate inventors bring their products to market for this time period. I learned a lot, and I've worked on a lot of interesting projects. But one of the more interesting projects that I have shifted pretty much my entire focus on is a product that was brought about by a caregiver, a woman who was injured, shoulder injury, caring for her husband using a transport wheelchair. And she was wondering why transport chairs didn't have any kind of power to them. For caregivers, controlled by caregivers. So she contacted an associate of mine, and they worked together in secret for about a year. and then came to me with an alpha prototype and a patent on a product that is, if you look over my shoulder here, it's essentially a detachable power module that easily is added or removed from a standard fold-up transport wheelchair that basically brings it to the next level. So a lot of inventors I've worked with in the past, to everybody's frustration, don't listen to the market. And so what I've put in my secret sauce for my company here is absolutely you have to listen to the market. So that's what we're doing here. And over the last couple of years working with Gary and all of you caregivers, is we've really got something special coming along here, all based on feedback from the original inventor, and then we've polished all the features here. And we're preparing to launch this in the fall. So we're at a point right now where some of the final design criteria questions need to be answered. And specifically, you'll see some, we're going to, again, do a little survey at the end of this, my little presentation. But we're looking for some software input, some sounds and lights and that kind of thing. Like what does the market, what do you guys want?
If you're like most caregivers, you find pushing a traditional chair uphill or across rugged terrain difficult, trying, and sometimes downright impossible, getting you nowhere fast. At times, it's like you have square wheels. Stop pushing and start giving with PowerDrive. What if there were a way to effortlessly escort a chair up a hill? With PowerDrive, you can. The secret is the PowerDrive unit. Created for caregivers, the light and portable PowerDrive attaches to the back of the chair, engaging the wheels with one easy-to-push lever. Once attached, you can use the color-coded buttons on the handle to help move forward and reverse. With precision, variable speed control, push a button and whoosh, off you go, using just one finger. Hills? PowerDrive. Grassy fields? PowerDrive. Rough terrain? Yep, you guessed it, PowerDrive. Stop struggling to get your loved ones around and start living again with PowerDrive. Built for caregivers, built for you.
My name is Renee, and I'm from the Right Choice Senior Activities Center. We are an adult daycare here in Lake Mary. We provide services, obviously, during the day. But we also do a lot more. We have different services come in, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech. We have doctors at home. We get their pharmacy, their medications here. We really try to be a one-stop shop so that the caregivers, when they get off from work, all they have to do is just love and, care for their family members once they get home, and they don't have to take them different places. So
Thank you. Thank you. Keith. Hello, sir. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too as well, Gary. My name is Keith Gibson, and I'm the Director of Program Services for the Alzheimer's Association for the state of Florida. In addition to being the Director of Program Services for the Director of Program Services Alzheimer's Association, I'm also one of 2 research champions for the state of Florida. So I'm very thrilled to be here today. Cool.
Thank you. And Jack, from way up there in frigid, cold Connecticut. I'm always thinking up north is cold, so don't worry about me.
That's all right. It's cold. It's going to be in the 50s tonight.
Ooh, stop.
Sorry. So my name is Jack Veale, and I'm a family business consultant who helps families through ownership transitions. I wrote a book called The Sudden Death Checklist that you can buy online at a discounted rate. The book is designed to help caregivers talk about the difficult discussions when they're laying on a bed and the family hasn't prepared themselves for a sudden death.
But Keith, do me a favor. Let's start by telling people what the Alzheimer's Association does.
Well, the Alzheimer's Association, basically, we are committed to our vision, which is a world without Alzheimer's and other dementias. Our mission is to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementias by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing the quality of care and support. And when we talk about care and support, that's where programs comes in. I think of us as the boots on the ground. Until we find a cure, we are there to provide that care and support. And our care and support is delivered in 6 core programs. Information and referral, which is our 1-800 number, care consultations, education programming, early stage social engagement activities, support groups, and safety service programming.
Renee, what are you hearing from caregivers who finally got their loved one or finally convinced themselves to come and be part of adult daycare family? What do you hear from them after they've done that for a while?
Oh, no, all of them thank me, for giving them a break. They tell me how much of a blessing I am. And, they're pleased with it. The problem is getting more people, getting the word out there, and having, I guess, families who are in real need of services to let them know about the adult day center. That's been a real big challenge. I talk to doctors, I go out to neurologists, I'm affiliated with most organizations, and it's just really hard. That's been the biggest challenge.
Have you met Keith?
I have not met Keith. Is he here in Central Florida?
Actually, I'm housed in South Florida, but I cover that area as well. So, and Renee, your services that you provide are a wonderful resource, and it's that break that the caregivers need. A lot of caregivers, when we're talking to them, they contact us and they're sharing their challenges. One of the things, we say, what are you doing to give yourself a break? Because if you're not going to give yourself a break, you're going to give out. And then who's going to care for your loved one? So you want to look at the resources that are readily available, and looking at adult day services is a wonderful tool. It gives them a chance. They're like, well, they won't go. I said, how do you know if you don't? How do you know if you never? If you never talk to them about it? And they're saying, well, I know they won't go. I said, well, now this is where that therapeutic fibbing comes in. And you're like, I love what you said. Well, everybody has a job. You tell them this is your job. They need you. You're going to work today. They need you to help them in the business office. They need you to help them in the kitchen. And that's how they're able to get them to pivot. And once they go, they look forward to going on a regular basis. So your services are just a wonderful, wonderful asset and a resource for those caregivers,
Yeah, we call them loving white lies.
There you go. Absolutely.
I love it.
Jack Veale, tell me about Sudden Death Checklist. What's in it? Why you created it? And what are caregivers saying about it?
Well, let's talk about a client I'm working with right now. This is a client that was he owns the business with his brother. And he was told in Christmas, and they found me in early January. But in this November, December, he was told by his doctors he had 2 months, 6 months, or 2 years to live. And he hadn't built a succession plan, even though he was 65. And so with the succession, but then he was looking to sell the company to either his kids or something like that. In the meantime, the kids aren't prepared to run the business. And their mom is the caregiver for her father. And so she's dealing with a husband who's been told not much to live, and she's caregiving her dad, who happened to be in her 90s. And then he's in the 90s. So the way I get started is I said, well, let's see we need to get the kids prepared for something. So let's use the sudden death checklist, and I'll work with the kids to get that started. And so because dad didn't want to talk about it, mom is dealing with her father. She doesn't want to deal with it. And these are all difficult questions, some of them very emotional. Who gets what? So forth. And there's adopted children in the family, all that stuff all had to be settled, because when you go to the courts and the probate, you're going to have a lot of questions with a lawyer, and if you're not prepared, you'll spend the money with the lawyer. Your estate will. And so the reason why I built this book was to help my clients work through the most difficult conversations. And that is, if you suddenly go away, what are the kids going to do? Because the kids are now the caregiver for mom or dad, who's the survivor, and they're looking at estate settlement discussions. What happens if they die in a car accident and the bodies can't be found? What happens there? What happens when what happens to Johnny, who needs care that mom was giving, and the brothers and sisters don't have time for that? And so with business owners, they have the additional problem of dealing with another generation of kids, and that's the employees. What happens to the company and their jobs? It gets real complex if you don't have a plan.